More visibility comes with a lot more violence.
Like you really have to have situational awareness.
That kind of harassment, that kind of hyper visibility.
People come with questions, right?
Yeah,
they come with demands. They come with their Bibles, Hi guys, my name is Gaturi Kome and we're here again with another episode of the Diversified Kenya podcast. With me, my amazing co-host.
Hello, my name is Safik or Safik Distress.
And today we have some really interesting conversations and I hope you'll be a part of it.
I really hope so. That's why I wanted to start immediately. Starting with, I have a theory. When it comes to visibility, you know how like people always talk about, I think this generation of us, because of Gen Zs, my goodness, we stay in people's mouths. Gen Zs, actually LGBTQ or like stories of queerness. Yeah. People always make it seem like it's this generation, like it's something that we like. In my generation, we didn't have gene and binary people, we didn't have trans people, we didn't have this. My theory is that it's not that these, one, of course, like as a queer person, we know there's no way you didn't know any gay people. They just didn't tell you their business.
That's true.
But two, I think also it's because there was not a level of visibility the way there is now. They think to major in our generation because they see more of us than they saw in any other generation. We're a digital and online sort of generation, which means, of course, even queer people like wanajionesha so much more.
Yeah.
So before, where they would expect queer people to just kind of hide themselves and like lie and not talk about their queerness, right now they're seeing people even speaking very openly about it online, and it makes them feel like, hey, one major. But I genuinely don't even think there's that big of an increase, especially in Africa.
We've always been here.
Yeah, we've always been here. My theory is it's just as gay now as it was pre-colonial times. Yeah. It's just that we have more language and more access to each other now. Like,
I think globalization has like roles to play in that.
For sure.
Because the same way parents now like have way more footage of their children, way more like cute moments of their children like standing up to work and stuff like that. I feel it's similar to within the queer context, because I feel like at that time, like there was not TikTok where like you could talk about your queerness, right? Yeah. And I feel like right now with how accessible social media is, especially in a place like Kenya, our access to the internet is, astronomical. So I feel with that comes the visibility that there's like so much queerness, and now there seems like there's even like a bigger propaganda, and also the attitudes of like young people. I feel like because a lot of young Gen Z queer individuals are not like relying on like old school kind of employment. We are not relying to like go corporate and stuff like that, so they're not like afraid to say like I am a queer person, because right now everyone wants to have like a flexible job. They want to be influencers,
remote jobs, even for everyone.
Exactly.
Actually,
yeah, so we have less to lose, like we did like let's say in 2010s, because right now you can say that you're queer without the fear of like you'll go to like someone's kibanda or hoteli and they'll be like, nah, you cannot work here because you're queer. So I feel like some liberties of like modernization kind of like afford us all of this, visibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I also think it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I'd love to like hear what you think, because I think it comes like there's visibility where to some extent it's a privilege, like in our generation of queer people, we're more visible, queer Kenyans especially, we're more visible than anyone before us has ever been.
Yeah.
We're more open about it, we have more spaces. Like Kasai, when I hang out with millennial Kenyan queers, they're like, hey, you guys, you throw a rock, you find somewhere to hang out with other queers. Those days, people used to like circle around archives and just hope you see. Somebody told me the other day that they used to like flag themselves, so it would be like in Apple archives, the gay men that wear like their pants, and then they'd have like a bandana on either the left or right side, and then if you saw another man dressed like that, you'd be like, okay, that one is a bottom.
Yeah,
now
and it would be extra hard
and
like
identifiers. But these days we don't really even need that, because online, like there's apps, there's whatnot, and it comes with like an evil side as well. However, because I think more visibility comes with a lot more violence and pushback. So real. I think that's why anti-rights is bigger than I think I've seen it be so far in my lifetime. Right now, it's because we're more visible, and so now it feels like we're encroaching on something. They want us to hide ourselves, to go back to not having accounts, about only having private accounts, or to only speaking about our friends and not our girlfriends explicitly or our partners explicitly. I don't know. I think it's like a double-edged sword for sure.
So recently, I saw like a couple that seemed like they were grown, right? They looked like they were like over 35, maybe in their 40s, and they had like a child. And I cannot explain the joy because, like, a lot of times, if you were queer and a certain age, you needed to go underground. Like, the all you had to do is come up for air and find a partner, then deep. There was no time for you, like you have your person and now like you're visible the way that you can be right now. And yeah, I agree like about the double-edged sword because a lot of times with the visibility comes targeting. Because a lot of like in terms, let me talk about myself. I feel like the more that I do my activism work as a queer woman in Kenya, I am more wary about like the places like that I end up in. I am more wary about how I'm dressed. Because right now, if you find me in my neighborhood, me, I'm in Adera, honey. Like when I'm dressed masculine, I need to know like exactly where I'm going and go there and also kind of like do these mental calculations. Where am I gonna end up this day? And that will kind of like determine the kind of clothes I'm in, how aware I am of the situation. Like you really have to have situational awareness because the moment that your face is out there, and that is something like a lot of like young queer folks right now are not like putting into consideration because there's like this frenzy like being visible is cool and stuff like that. You're gay, and then you have like this social capital and you catch momentum, and now you're like a mini celeb, and you think
we even have people like straight people who are adopting queerness
exactly
in their aesthetic because it comes with clout.
Yes, and we are like not stopping to realize all of the small and big and major waves that older queers did so that like we can have these liberties. And these liberties are not like just liberties because they come with strings attached. Because on the ground, like let me talk about myself, with my visibility came with people from my hometown finding me. So right now I have now Isiolo folk in my comment sections. I have like ghost viewers, like people just want to know
You're
what
like 99 people have viewed your profile in the last
and
hour.
yeah, and no one has said anything. There's no movement, right? And this is how even like someone like my father ended up finding my account, and he had shit to say.
Oh my
and
goodness.
I just know like it's someone from home.
And yeah, like do you know your daughter is up to
yeah, like what is she doing in Nairobi? Like all of us are sugar daddies or queer and thieves and whatnot. And
that's so crazy. They think we have sugar daddies, but at the same time we're also lesbian. Like pick a side. So am I sleeping with men for money or am I sleeping with women?
Well,
like honestly, you could be by doing both.
Well,
double opportunity,
Yeah, and a lot of times also depending on what county you mention on your live, on your social media, I feel like especially something like TikTok. The moment you mention like let's say Isiolo, the moment that you mention a place like that is really remote like Moyale,
it's like you
then all of a sudden you've summoned the Moyales, in your comments, and a lot of times some of myself I'm not usually like maybe ready for that kind of like because people come with questions, right?
Yeah,
they come with demands, they come with their Bibles, and now you have like to defend yourself against like a whole card of
I completely get that. I love that you talked about like also like offline, especially because you're more mass presenting. I think in that way, when you're talking about like people talking about how they don't look queer enough in the social capital, I think also this illusion that we have, like the internet has given us an illusion of safety as queer Africans especially. And so because we're so visible online, we think that it's a privilege, that it's always a privilege, that like it's something to be proud of, to look gayer, and it is honestly, you should. But also when I see like queers complaining about not looking gay enough or not being gay enough or like thinking that masks have privilege because they can be read as queer, I wonder what world it is that they're existing in, like apart from the online world, because even walking 3 seconds, like if you have a stud friend, if you have a femme boyfriend, like any of those, if you walk with them, you left the house 1 minute ago. By the time you're passing the first shop, there's judgment at the very least.
Yeah.
By the time, almost assured, it's almost a guarantee, by the time you are dealing with public transport, those makangas will have a lot to say. Some
Bodagas,
border guys will have a lot to say.
mechanics.
That kind of harassment, that kind of hypervisibility
Yeah.
is honestly dangerous. And I hate that people make it seem like it's completely a privilege and even place it in this weird thing where it's like, I see people speaking about mask privilege and they mean presentation privilege. And I wonder which people are talking about, especially like in Kenya. In Kenya,
So
my
I'm
goodness.
gonna go ahead and talk about how I navigate that because the harassment and the comments and
I
the
cannot imagine.
and the cat calls, like a lot of times people usually think like you can just like hop into an Uber and that's it. Because even Uber by itself or like Bolt or whatever
It's a
private
risk.
means that's kind of like public, you're not necessarily safe because you have to keep on curating yourself. Myself, if I'm walking somewhere and someone says like makes a comment, I know to never ever engage. And a lot of us like don't have that safety measure or like how to like de-escalate a situation, because if someone says like some shit like check out malele, you wanna stop and say something, because why would you say that?
Yeah,
right?
like I wasn't
I'm
even
asking
talking
you
to you.
who is the man and stuff like that.
Mamtanyesha,
Yeah,
whatever the
and
nonsense they usually say.
and as someone that has conventionally like dated other masks, then that can get amplified,
I
right?
can't imagine.
And
Yeah.
anytime, even if someone is a mask and they wanna date like a feminine woman, then that also can exponentially like now exposes the both of you. If they don't like, bystanders don't care if you're working with your daughter, they don't care if you're working with your mother, they don't care if you're working with a sibling.
If you're masked,
if you're masked and you're next to someone that's feminine,
they're assuming
they're
you're
like,
doing
you know,
somewhere
yeah,
to them.
that's you guys, yeah. So I'm like, do I keep on having to curate myself, having to harm myself in a way that I am hyper vigilant of where I'm standing or what someone is taking, or even the attitudes? Because a lot of times, if I meet men in a group and they say something, I know to run.
When we speak about looking queer enough, we speak a lot about visibility and how we can look more queer, but I don't think we speak enough about how we can live more queer, how we can be more queer. I'm more feminine presenting, and so to be quite honest, when I walk alone on the streets, the brunt of what I face is just like good old misogyny and like patriarchy. But that specific angle of homophobia, that fear I only feel when I'm walking next to my partner or next to my friend who's masked, or you know, like somebody who's much more visibly queer. And I think when it comes to such situations, when you have to start thinking about how you're like minimizing yourself and like making yourself more palatable to be safe in spaces, that's where community comes in. That's where we utilize our privilege. When we think about like looking queer, I think you need to think about living queer. Living queer looks like if you're in a space and there's a guard, for example, we're in a mall, and I can already tell this homegirl over here who's doing the security check is about to make it too much. As the more feminine presenting person, I'm more palatable to this woman, right? Because I look more like a traditional cis woman. I'm the one who stands in there and is like, hey, like my friend, nini, like umeshinda umemshikashika, umeshinda umemwongelesha, because it's less likely for it to escalate for me. But for you, when you escalate it, it's just like you're just the big scary
lesbian. You're the aggressor.
You're the aggressor. You're the aggressor because you're the visibly queer one, and it means that if it escalates to a like police situation, we know how police are with their stereotypes and their standards, and how you look and how they perceive you is everything in terms of how they will treat you.
Okay.
So if you're a masked person or if you're a visibly trans person, it means exponentially your experience will be much worse than mine would be. Even if we do go to like a cell, we'll have a terrible time, but I think the kind of violations you might face are things that I can't even fathom.
And then you by proximity. And I wanted to mention something because I am a millennial, and I'm at the bridge of where millennials end and Gen Zs begin. And I feel like I have kind of like absorbed both sides. Like I am young enough to be coupled up with Gen Zs, but and also old enough to be part of the millennial generation. And a lot of that looks like there's a way that I move through my sexuality that kind of like betrays my love for women, because a lot of times, let me give this example. I had these friends and they were visiting, and I remember being in in an Islando lift with them, and they were so affectionate with each other. They were like standing in a lift holding one another, and they were oblivious of anything really. They were just like in their love bubble, and I'm like,
You feel like telling them.
I know! Like a part of me was so aware of that. I'm like, can you two just like
you're in a matron. Unasikia kuweka kwa list.
and imagine this is not like because I don't believe in like queer love.
No,
this is because I have been on the receiving end of like all of this eyeing and judginess and violence and friction and just people side eyeing you enough to like sit like it's the equivalent of when you know you're a child and you're wearing like a
skirt wakikwambia kaka msichana.
exactly. And I'm like, why the fuck do I feel the need? And we were safe in that moment, in that lift, we were safe, but still, a part of me, there's like a alarm somewhere in my head saying like, nah, don't do that. And I realized that even right now, while I'm back into the dating scene, I hesitate about like holding like a potential partner or like a potential love interest hand in a mall. And
I get that. You feel like you're betraying yourself.
Yeah, because I truly do not mind. I'm not closeted. I'm literally in charge of a queer community, right?
Literally, yeah.
But at the same time, there's like attitudes about like showing affection that I am hesitant about. And even within like straight context, heterosexuals kind of like there's a way that I'm an heterosexual. Let's talk about Kenyans. Are we even affectionate people to begin with?
Yeah. Have you ever seen your parents hug and kiss? I know some of you are gonna say yes. Even AI. Okay. Because what do you mean?
You're lying. I'm sorry. I didn't even know how I came to be.
If you had told me you let imagine you
a stop dropped me at Isiolo General Hospital. In that year I was born, and that's how I came to be.
Yeah, I think PDA is not really like a thing in Kenyan
culture.
PDA
is it's absolutely frowned upon.
Yeah, it's frowned upon.
And actually Nairobi is worse because where I come from, we are more affectionate people because I see men hug each other and linger longer. I see like women each other, and I'm like, it's not a big deal. But then Nairobi makes everything pervy. I can't explain it.
Nairobi is more like the colonialists really rooted deeply than I feel like hata mimi niko nafikiria like shags like kwetu but they were very affectionate. You'll even see like men walking holding hands and stuff like that. Nobody's thinking it's homosexual because nobody's sexualizing it. I think what happened is when the white men came here, waliona watu wakiinteract hivyo, alafu wakawambia
I have a white colonial
everything
if it's happening, please by the hairs.
They came here and they saw same-sex friendships and same-sex relationships that were a lot more affectionate than what they're used to. Because when people weren't really PDA, these days at Yaundo, the owners of PDA, but no. Like colonialists were very British, old British soldiers, Kwanzaa. Those people were evie, staunch, like together, and so they'd see like men holding hands, and when they're walking down the street, they're like, only homosexuals. They create a penal code, and now Kenyans, after they've left, and now them and their friends are like healing their masculinity and holding hands in the West. You and your friends are scared to hold each other because you think it's homosexual, and you like, it's so sinister. It's so sinister.
Actually, I saw this older queer man say something about how the rhetoric in African realities is that queerness is a Western import, and he went ahead to mention how like when they came into Africa, like that was a clause that they made sure was there, and he was like, why would anyone feel the need to reinforce something that doesn't exist? Did you see that?
Yeah.
And I feel like that is
because if you're creating laws,
why are you creating laws out of
thin
thin air? Exactly. Like, why would you feel the need to include something like that if it did exist? And I'm gonna leave that at that. I wanna talk about how acceptance online is kind of, I can't say necessarily easy, but finding community online is such like a, because I feel like the way that I was able to form this community we have right now is because I found like a branch of community on Facebook of all places. Like I was able to create these like minded individuals that had your back, supported you, like kiki at your jokes, just all together created like this safety blanket on the internet when being queer was like absurd,
Oh, I get
right?
that. Yeah.
But then again, for ground, it's a lot slower. Because yes, we wanna say, oh my god, mashoga tuko wengi Kenya nini nini, but yeah, we only exist online, right? Because for some reason, like like the online space has this ability to bring like Kenyans from queers from Turkana, Garissa,
Mm.
uh, Lilamu, Kilifi, like even
Kitale,
Kitale, you know,
like.
Kisumu. All of us kind of seem like we are on the same street online,
Yeah.
but on the geographically in Kenya, when you consider like the kilometers,
We're
we're
quite
farther
far
apart
apart. Yeah.
than we are online. So the support again per ground dwindles, right? And the acceptance dwindles, and the visibility kind of also dwindles, right? And it's a bit more. You have to cover a bit more groundwork on the ground to get the support that you actually do get online.
Yeah.
And that
To
kind
even
of
build a
like
community.
exactly, and even like the loneliness of being. That's why like even right now, I make sure at any given time like I'm living at least in the same estate with one of my friends, because I need to be able to like I something has happened, right? I need to
Yeah.
be able to pick up my
God, I
phone
get
and
that.
call someone and let them know, something is off. But if you go online right now, if I say, guys, I am, God forbid, feeling suicidal, then I see like a million of you show up, right? But on the ground, my landlord is like closing my doors because I didn't make this month's rent.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like on the ground and offline and online, it doesn't always translate.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I think also that's a fault of ours, like because of how online we are. Because the way we're always telling each other to touch grass online. I genuinely, I turned 25 and my mind was like, bitch, get off the fucking internet.
Yeah.
Like, what genuinely, I
Yeah.
think I see that so much. Online has this thing where it's like instant dopamine.
Mm.
The way when you text a friend or like when we're talking, we can have a conversation continuously, and then eventually at some point maybe tutanyamaza kidogo,
Yeah.
watu wa scroll, kunywe chai, nini nini. With online there's this like instant dopamine hit, and so it's easy to create community because it's not meaningful. It doesn't require as much emotional and physical energy or labor.
Yeah.
So you can have like 100. That's why like having like 10K friends online is not the same thing as having 10,000 actual friends who has the capacity to keep up emotionally with 10,000 different people. Like, me, I certainly don't. I will have forgotten by number 5. Just wrap it up.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that's also a fault of ours, but I think it's like it's also not our fault to some extent because online is safer. Online, like, I mean, safer. Yeah, because we all know the dangers of existing online, to be quite honest, and I think these days it's even worse. However, as a queer like Kenyan, online you don't have to worry about CG or Mama Mboga feeling some type of way about the fact that you're in drag.
Yeah.
Online you don't have to, even if some mtu akuja kuita shoga kwa page yako, you can remove that comment, you can delete it, you can block this person, never have to interact with them.
And it's a persona.
In real life, mtu akipita shoga, you have to deal with it then and there. You can't block them. You can't. So it becomes like a thing where it's like I think it's easier to look for and pretend sometimes, honestly, to have community online because you don't have to risk anything real. When you look for community on offline, you have to risk something. It could be your physical safety, could be financial, because some of us have traveled to Meru to find like queer friends. Like those days. All my communities online, I found like all my queer communities that I know, even in real life, I found online.
Yeah.
My first two groups were like lesbian groups, and I was like, with like other two teenage lesbians, just being like, hey guys, so mtu anakuja anatuambia venye alikuwa kwa lesbian list. Now we all like cry about how people are so mean, and honestly, you didn't deserve to be on that list. And then it transitioned into like more like college age and whatnot, and then having my first girlfriends even from my first girlfriend nilipata Facebook. Facebook, man, like
wow, are we
the
for
first
Gen Z?
I'm telling you, that's why I think I also relate. I'm an older Gen Z, like I'm on the older cusp of Gen Z, so Facebook was very much a thing.
Yeah.
I think when the digital age for queerness really started, I think I was right there as well. And so I'm in this place where I hold space for how much freedom online visibility gives us as queer Africans, as queer Kenyans, how much access to community, to language even. You know, like, mtu anaweza kuwa like, mi sisikii kama mwanamke, but hata juu inabari nini, and like, hakuna language, you don't even know it's an option to be like, hey, you kind of don't have to subscribe to this gender. However, especially in this age of digital surveillance and with these new bills being passed, I wonder what it's going to look like when offline we already know the reality of existing offline. And right now, like, thank goodness for queer spaces, because they give you those small places of just like breathing and pretending we live in a utopia. But like, if online is dangerous and offline is dangerous, you know, like, where does that leave us as we're Kenyan? Sometimes nasikianga like, wow, nataka to escape online because it's so toxic and people are so homophobic. But then I realize, oh, it's a mirror of
it is
real life.
Because I feel like when you are online, we kind of are in this utopia, like you said, and we kind of create these personas that are like carefree, that are loved, that are, you know, can do whatever we want. But for ground, we need to deal with employers, we need to deal with family, we need to deal with religion, we need to deal with homophobic friends, right? We need to deal with a landlord that actually my internet, my Wi-Fi is really scandalous, the Wi-Fi name, and you need to deal with that too. And you need to deal with your caretaker who's hella nosy, wants to know who you're bringing up in your home.
Kwa nini nyinyi wasichana wawili mnaishi kwa hii nyumba, bedroom ni moja?
You need to deal with your water person downstairs who tells your friends or like your family members like you brought up a girl in your house, and like no one owes you anything offline. We have to like make all of these conditions for us to thrive offline, because in as much as we can create like a utopia online, we can't live in it. We need to like put our phones down, deal with the realities, and sometimes that kind of visibility, unfortunately, it doesn't end online. It can follow you offline. Because offline, in as much as some of us are like kind of like blessed enough to kind of like disappear where queerness is concerned, and you can navigate your offline life without being known that you're queer. But sometimes, even if you're femme, I don't think like you can only escape it so far.
When you're
because if
queer,
you're because you have queer friends, and I don't know, there's just something about queerness that is so tangible.
No, I get it. Even
so, people will be like, I just can't place you, something is off, right? And even for the queers, they're like, something is on, right? Because depending on who you are, it can be a good or a bad thing.
So, umschana.
Like just
I get it. I think that's the category of queer that I fall in. They're like, you're wearing a dress, but do I like how you're wearing it? You know,
it's not palatable, you know, and you cannot be categorized anywhere. So I feel like we need to like reconcile all of these things at real time. We need to like get a jump on it.
I agree. I think that's why I love so much like seeing this wave of more and more event spaces for queer Kenyans like coming up, like even ones that I've never heard of, ones that I haven't attended yet, and things that is like niche interest in. Actually, I don't want to kind of like make candles, but I know so many people would love to. I think those small, even if like I recently went to like a yoga, it's Friday wellness yoga, and we were like a group of less than 10. We were plus the instructor. I don't think atatoka to maybe 10. And it was so like a small intimate, it was like an hour, not even a long event where we hung out for long. We literally showed up at 5, we did the yoga immediately, by 6 we were done, came up to just going home. And it was 1 hour, but it was my favorite part of the day. It really rejuvenated me. It was so lovely. It was so wholesome. Like I went home feeling, and I think more and more of those spaces is what we need.
Don't let many people see this, but I love when hangouts are really small.
Me too.
I love a crowd, but at the same time, I feel like I have the most fun and in tune. Like I can get to actually talk to everyone. Like there's just 6 of us at the hangout.
I love it.
Hallelujah!
It also means that the conversation almost always involves everyone.
Yes, everyone. And everyone feels like they have had like they're familiar with the next person, and the next hangout you don't feel like you are within like a group of strangers, because I feel like when a hangout is like 500 people, it's so easy to go there and feel like estranged with everyone.
Yeah, you could go there and talk to no one.
Exactly. Actually, when it comes to visibility, I would want to add another angle of visibility: exploitation, right? And this, a lot of times when like queerness is this visible, I feel like there's like so many avenues for people to like see through the cracks and get hold of queer unsuspecting young people and do whatever. And again, I'm going to put on the spot these flash interviews, and
These street
kids,
interviews. Oh my goodness, I hate those.
these
I
kids
hate
go
those.
online and say the craziest of things, and I'm like, oh honey, the digital footprint is forever.
It's
You will
horrible.
learn along the way, but oh baby, don't do that, right? And because these interviewers, it's clickbait.
It's
They
clickbait,
wanna
yeah.
sensationalize this thing. They want to make you, they want the views, and they will say the most absurd shit to you. And because you're in front of a camera and you agreed,
Yeah, like you're kind of left stranded.
yeah. So you
I
need to
agree.
figure it out.
It sucks because honestly, I think queer like youngins and like queer teenagers should be allowed to be dumb. Like
Yeah.
we are all dumb, honestly. Everybody,
Yeah,
even
for
right now,
sure.
like I'm pretty sure I'm gonna look at some of my views this year and next year and be like, girl,
Yeah.
you know,
Where was that?
you're allowed to grow. But I hate so much that like because of visibility. Again, I think also queerness as much as and I know Kenyans would never accept it. But queerness has power in Kenyan culture. And I don't mean Sujeti pre-colonial. No, baby, I mean modern
Right now.
21st century. I think queers are shaping modern culture in Kenya.
From style.
Think about fashion, think about dancing, think about
activism, baby.
think about music, think about even language. Mimi, honestly speaking, you can't tell me shit as a lesbian when every straight man, when he wants his song to go viral, like, no baby, I am the culture actually. You can't tell me anything.
And why is every powerful woman divorcing their man? And
that's all I'm saying. And I think like sometimes Kenyans, like straight people, don't even realize how much power, and even queer people ourselves, and it means that they utilize it as much as they're telling you you're doing something wrong, and I hate you, I don't want you to have rights, but I'm gonna use your name and your identity when I'm singing because it's gonna get me clout. I hate you, I don't want you to have rights, but I'm gonna work with this gay fashion designer because his clothing is better than any other straight man I've seen who designs clothes. I don't fuck with queer people, but oh my goodness, I love theater arts and I'm so into this music group that has queer people and everything like that. It's the way you'll see people in Chimano's comments admitting openly that he has more talent and his voice, even they like it more than even like the straight members of the group. However, his queerness is the one thing that they will focus on. It's just like, exactly. And I think it's time for us to reclaim that cultural power for ourselves. These people are using us in their music. Let's make our own and sell it to them. They want to sing about lesbians. Let's do that. We live that life. We can sing better than they ever could. They want to make fashion about queerness. Like the way these days, like men suddenly they're painting their nails and it's cool, but they were
we did that shit before. It was cool.
Anything a straight man is wearing that he thinks is cool and cunty, a gay boy was beaten for a couple of years before.
Crop tees.
Now if you're reclaiming your masculinity,
like
you're doing your nails and now it's cool to be groomed. Like, baby,
tattoos.
Yeah, and if that same person a few years ago would have, in fact, that same person right now will pass a feminine boy and call him sugar, despite the fact that he's the blueprint.
Clothes.
Like what you're wearing, he's the blueprint, And I think honestly, my parting shot or anything for Kenyans would just be like queer Kenyans is you are the culture, you are the fabric that makes this nation. You just have to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Even with events, something that I've been seeing that really works is sometimes they violate us for like visibility. So like the way there's events where it doesn't say it's queer, like it's not queer this, but the community organizer, like is somebody who's known within the community, or it's organized by an organization that is known within the community. And it might not even be about queerness, it's like a yoga something, but it's a place where you will go meet your people who accept you. I think those are the spaces you need to tap into, rather than people who are using your name for clout and then not helping you with the harm.
And even like I have seen like a lot of I don't know if like I have there's no power vested on me as common to talk about this, but I feel like a lot of times there's this powerful, not powerful women, or just like women that have like a bit of like social media, traction,
And
that
then
dates queer for
clout. So they can be, let me tell you, every single time I see a new influencer with hashtag Wallowa in their video, and I think it's okay, honestly, sexuality is discovery, but these are the same people who, when you actually go into the comments, they're liking homophobic comments, they're laughing about how this is a joke, they're giggling and being like, honey, I'll do jokes when people actually ask, like, oh my god, are you dating that girl? Literally just using it as clout. I've even seen guys doing it, by the way.
Can I tell you something?
Mm-mm.
Personally, I'm a girl's girl, but if you are somewhere and you're queer and you're throwing queer folk under the bus,
you can go to
fucking hell.
If you want benefits of the community and you don't want to actually like do the work,
we cannot be bridging the orgasm gap, your popularity, your style, your visibility.
For real, bitch. Like,
what are you giving
What are
us?
you doing? Like, what are you bringing to the? They love to ask themselves this. So let's ask them. What are you bringing to
the queer conversation?
Because we have brought quite a bit.
Yes.
Next to our Kuja ex-gays, but that's a topic for another day.
Anyway,
that's a topic for another day. If we start that, we'll be here for an hour.
Anyway,
what's your parting shot?
I think that queerness, online and offline, whether you're only out online, power to you. Whether you can only be queer offline and not put your business out there, because obviously you have no control of offline that online.
Yeah.
Power to you, like whatever way you choose to like explore your queerness. Go honey, like you got this.
Literally, you're doing amazing.
Yeah.
Me too. I think mine would just be like, find your community, latch onto it. There's so much bullshit and noise in the world. And the one saving grace that I have is knowing that, like, wow, even if I wake up tomorrow now, they put some random law, I have my people who I'm texting, I'm like, guys, what are we doing about this? Like, tunaenda wapi? Tunahama wapi? Find your people. Yeah. Find your people and ignore the rest.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See ya.